But Dave, let's move on into our next topic, and this is really the meat and potatoes of everything, is our NBA big board. What would this be, 4.0? I lose track half the time.
It is
4.0.
It is 4.0.
And this is the second one that you've been on this college season.
Starting to make a habit out of this.
The last time you were on, was that the 2.0 that you were on? That was the 2.0.
Yeah, I laid out a pretty great 2.0. Set the standard pretty high.
Yeah, I'm looking at it not too far off. There's guys the only guys that have pretty much fallen off, and I'm going to say this only because it's not spoilers,
with all due,
is Charles Bassey and Lugans Dort.
Yeah.
Like, those are guys we were higher on earlier that we're not on. Oh, and Trey Jones, obviously, because he went back. But how we will do this is Sean also gave us his. Sean was going to be here, but he's feeling under the weather, so we hope you get well soon, big guy, and I cannot wait. And I don't mean to rip into your big board, but you're just not here to defend it.
I'm going to pick on it.
And I've got some things to question about it. I'm not being mean when I do that, Sean. But we'll have Dave. You'll go first with yours, and then the question before you do.
Sure.
Do you want to read off Sean's, or do you want me to read off Sean's before we
should
do mine?
trade off.
We'll trade off for Sean.
Make it real difficult.
We'll do yours, then we'll do Sean's, then we'll do mine.
Okay.
So start off with yours.
At 25.
Start at 25, go to 16.
At number 25, I've got Cameron Johnson. Why do you write Cameron? It's just Cam Johnson. His name's Cam.
That's what I had.
His name's Cam Johnson. At 24, I've got Grant Williams from Tennessee. At 23, I've got Matisse Thybulle from Washington. 22, I've got KZ Okpala from Stanford. At 21, I've got Romeo Langford out of Indiana. At 20, I've got Keldon Johnson out of Kentucky. At 19, I've got his buddy, Tyler Herro, also out of Kentucky. At 18, I've got Rui Hachimura. I can't do the year thing, but we'll get to that later.
I'll do it when we get to it.
At 17, I've got PJ Washington, Kentucky. And at 16, I've got Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
So for Sean's, we'll alternate. I'll go first. At number 25, he's got KZ Okpala, the forward out of Stanford.
At 24, he's got my boy, Nasir Little, out of UNC.
Then at 23, he's got Keldon Johnson, the guard forward out of Kentucky.
At 22, he's got Kevin Porter Jr. out of USC.
Then at 21, he's got Matisse. It's not Matthias.
It's just Matisse.
Matisse Thybulle, forward out of Washington.
At number 20, he's got Tyler Herro, guard out of Kentucky.
Then at 19, he's got Daniel Gafford, the Gaff Man, center out of Arkansas.
Oh, you're going to have to do this one for me.
Then we've got at 18, Rui Hachimura, the forward out of Gonzaga.
At number 17, he's got Jackson Hayes, the center out of Texas.
And then you take this one, big guy.
At 16, Sean's go to the draft.
The GOAT.
I'm surprised he's not number 1 on Sean's board.
The GOAT in his mind.
Naz Reid, forward out of LSU.
And then into mine, number 25, Cam Johnson, the forward out of UNC. Then Matisse Thybulle, forward out of Washington at 24. I slow down on that one because I want to say Matthias because that's what we learned it as.
No, because Matthias was Matthias Lesort.
Yeah, and now I'm relearning it as Matisse. Then at 23, Keldon Johnson, the guard forward out of Kentucky. Then 22, Grant Williams, forward out of Tennessee. 21, Nasir Little, forward out of UNC. Then at 20, my man Lewis King, the forward out of Oregon. Then at 19, Romeo Langford. Romeo's crying because he's fallen on my big board.
He's fallen on all of our boards.
The guard out of Indiana. Then at 18, Jackson Hayes, center from Tejas. Number 17, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, guard from Virginia Tech. And then at 16, PJ Washington, forward out of Kentucky. Let's start with the first guy. We've got 3 guys that we're going to hit in this segment. We'll start with the first one, Dave, because this is one that you were like, you looked at Sean's, you're like, wow, he's kind of low on Sean's. But then you looked at mine and you went, wow, you've got him almost at the same spot. I've got him at 18. Sean has him at 17. You have him a little bit higher.
I got him at 13. What's
going on with Jackson Hayes?
I'm a little surprised because I get it. He was a raw player, but this man has the tools to be an elite defender in the NBA. One of the best skill sets of a 5 that you could want out of a college player. Super active, long, lean. He has a natural knack for blocking shots. You know, a lot of people want to argue, is he a true rim protector or just does he have great defensive instincts? I think it's a bit of both. His offensive game, while limited, is still not bad. He's good at catching lobs. He has one post move that I've watched basically all year. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Post move.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. He can add on to his game at the NBA level. The big knock against him is his rebounding numbers and percentage isn't fantastic, but at the same time, he's a player who I think has a lot of room to grow, ton of upside, but also delivered pretty well at the college level. So I look at his true shooting percentage. It's incredible. I think there's just a lot to love about him as a prospect.
Yeah, the thing that I kind of think about with Jackson Hayes, and this is twofold for me, because first off, I hate on the center position. Let's be honest.
It's fair. Like, unless you're a unicorn, I mean, like, how much help can a center really bring in year 1, year 2, year 3?
Exactly.
It takes time.
And that's why with me, it's like when I was seeing like Jackson Hayes in the top 10, I'm like, really? I'm going to take it on a center when I can get a wing. I can get a Wang out here.
Wangs for days.
And just like, I can grab a center who's been around. Like, I can grab Andrew Bogut and be fine, Dave.
Andrew Bogut ain't coming back for anybody but the Golden State Warriors.
I don't have to throw a draft pick in the top 10 at a Jackson Hayes. But to me, I think the question really comes down to, for me, and this is why I had him higher than Jackson Hayes, is as we get closer to the draft, it's going to come between the comparison of Goga and Jackson Hayes. Which one do you prefer? Because there are differences. One's a little bit more raw, comes from college.
Yep.
The other one, I believe, is a year older. No, not a year. Is it? Yeah, by the draft, Goga will be 19.
Said Gorga again.
I almost did. I stopped myself, though. His draft age will be 19.92, whereas Jackson Hayes will have just almost turned 19. So one's almost going to be turning 20. The other one just turned 19.
Jackson's super young. Yeah.
But the question I have for Jackson Hayes is, yes, defense is nice, but number one, the three ball is non-existent. He didn't take one all the time.
My centers don't shoot threes.
Whereas at least Goga is taking threes. I know he's only averaging about 1.5 per game, but he's shooting the three ball and can if he wants to. But the big one for me is rebounds. This is a kid that in, 32 games only averaged 5 rebounds per game.
Give him the asterisk for the minutes played per game.
25.3 per game, so I will give him that. But is that a red flag? Should that be a big red flag for teams that look at Hayes?
It's definitely a bit of a concern. I think it's something that you're going to have to take a look at a lot of the game film to see, like, is he boxing out more often? Is he pulling the Brook Lopez game where it's like, I'll box out, I'm not going to get you the rebound. Steven Adams, similar thing, but he's actually just an excellent rebounder on top of it. Is Texas doing that whole, get the ball in the point guard's hands? It's not really their thing. So no, like it's definitely one of his areas he needs to improve on. Am I saying that that's like a death knell to his draft stock and he should fall from the top 10? No. I still think that the value of having someone who can finish that well around the net and someone who absolutely has that unteachable instinct to go for swats, to go for off the backboard slaps, to just stop people from bringing the ball up around the hoop, I think that has value. And you look at the past couple of years of Texas centers and you go, well, there's sort of a pedigree here coming around. I think I feel pretty confident in going with Jackson Hayes and knowing I can continue to build on what he started at Texas.
So the question I will ask you is this, could you see Jackson Hayes developing into a guy that scores, let's say, 14 to 16 points per game, grabs about, let's go on the low end here, about maybe 5 to 8, maybe 5 to 9 rebounds per game.
It's wide range, okay.
But averages like 2 blocks a game and adds that type of a game to his team if he is playing, let's say, 30-plus minutes per game and starts for his team. I'm talking down the line, not rookie year.
Yeah, I mean, I think the scoring's probably a little bit high. I think he's more in line with probably like 10 points a game, 7 boards, but I could see a block and a half. Absolutely. I think he's a guy who, you don't need the ball in his hands, but if you want to roll him like Clint Capella, sure. He's a less, I'm trying to find a nice way to say it, a less physically interesting prospect than Mo Bamba.
Okay.
Mo Bamba has a better shot than him. He was willing to take more shots from the outside, or at least try to.
Yeah.
But it was that wingspan that set Mo Bamba apart. It was just he has that extra it factor to him.
And he's got a song.
And he's got a great song. Can't give him enough respect for that. But I think it's very much similar. It's he's a guy who absolutely has what it takes at the NBA level. it will take him time to grow into that, though. Jarrett Allen, the same thing. This is his year, 2, and we're seeing Jarrett Allen, learn that he needs to he's still got a lot to learn about the game, but he's muscling up a decent bit since he's joined the NBA. He's looking better, and I think there's a learning curve there, or a growth curve for centers. It's not often that you get someone who can come in the league and looks like DeAndre Ayton. We got lucky. We got lucky with that.
And the thing that I think comes in, this is the last thing I'll say about the centers. I'll even bring Bruno into this, who was not in our top 25.
Yeah.
Each one of these centers, Ball being the difference because he's the unicorn.
Yep.
Jackson Hayes is that raw prospect who, like you said, can give you defense, could give you maybe 10 points a game.
Yeah, easy. Yep.
But the big thing you're leaning on is offense and finishing around the rim.
Yeah, I mean, those points are coming. He's going to shoot, 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6.
Whereas Goga is more, to me, the biggest strength that you have with him is the same thing we kind of looked at Luka last year, is that he's been playing professionally since 2015. He's a 19-year-old kid, almost 20 by the draft, but he's been playing professionally overseas since he was, 16?
Yeah.
15, 16? So he's had that professional kind of, like the same thing we see, and I don't want to, like, every time I say this, it's kind of like we group them all together.
You can.
But it's like the same thing that, like, why Manu Ginobili and, like, all the overseas, most of them, it's like, oh, we're drafting you because you have that pro experience on top of what we like. And then I look at Bruno, and the big thing is if you don't want Jackson Hayes, you don't want Goga, you're drafting Bruno because he's a guy that hauled in 10, almost 11 boards per game.
He is an elite rebounder.
In 30 minutes, though. He was playing, nearly 5 more minutes per game than Jackson Hayes was?
He's still an elite rebounder at the college level. He's definitely gifted there. I think the decision between Jackson and Goga is going to be how much do you trust the little tape of Goga that you have.
True.
And that's the thing. We're coming up right now, the end of, I know for like, player we'll talk about later in Sekou, like last couple games of their chunk, I think they've got like 5 more that I saw the schedule for, and it's like, okay, I'm really going to be locked in on those games.
Yeah.
But I think with Goga and Jackson, it's just, what does the tape tell you? You've got so much tape on Jackson Hayes. You know everything about his game at this point. We're waiting for the combine, which will be exciting to see the official measurements and weigh in. Can he put on size and still keep that really nice touch around the rim, not throw off his game? But Goga is just, when you watch him play, he's a much more polished player.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like you said, going up against grown men for a couple of years now. With him, it just comes down to the stigma of being an international player, to be entirely honest. So,
what about, let's move away from the centers.
Sure.
Let's go into a guy that I think we've talked about, and I think I've done this every single big board. Let's see. On the 3.0, we've talked about him. On the 2.0, I know for damn sure me and you talked about him. We didn't? Oh, that's right. We did the week before. We did a full segment on him. That's why we didn't talk about him on the 2.0. We talked about him during the 1.0. So nearly every single big board, we have mentioned this guy's name.
Really?
What is the latest in your mind on the Nasir Little update? Yeah, this is a prospect that we have talked about every single big board.
He's a little popular.
Because, I mean, popular or not popular, depending on how you want to look at it. What's your thought process? I still have him 2 spots lower than I did the last time.
Yep.
He's at 21 for me. For you, he's a little bit higher. Spoiler, he's going to be at 15 for you.
Yep.
And then Sean has him at 24 on his.
I think for me, the hardest thing about Nasir Little is trying not to be overly critical of his role in college. And that was the biggest thing that stood out was, everybody wants to be like, well, Roy's an old coach. He plays his seniors. He goes veteran heavy. And you had Kobe White out there basically being the like asterisk to the rule, being like, well, he was so good, he got his minutes. Nasir Little doesn't have the shooting touch that Cam Johnson has. So he wasn't going to get the time out there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Nasir Little, when he was against much weaker opponents, absolutely exploited them. And that was like the Nasir Little that we wanted to see all year.
Like the Iona game.
Yeah. Like, give me that. Give me, like, efficient. You're great size. You're able to take the ball and dominate. And I think seeing that still gives me the sparks of hope of being like, the dude's just a little raw. He's got to work on his shot. He's got to work on his touch, but he's got the physical body of an NBA player, which not everybody can grow into that. And I think that's one of the biggest things for me is when you come in as a ready-made physical specimen like that, and all you need to do is work on the basics, you can work on your shooting. You can improve the percentages, year over year over year, but you're not going to magically be his size with his muscle mass and be able to slide on defense as well as he can. So I'm hesitant to slide him down my board more because as a prospect, yes, you are, working with somebody who has some broken pieces of his game, but at the end of the day, the product itself, he is NBA worthy from a body standpoint.
And the thing I like and that I agree with when it comes to Little is, from what I'm seeing here, it's a quote from SI's big board.
Yeah.
Where they say, this isn't to say that Little won't eventually be able to cut it, but evaluators have been forced to reassess his development curve, and he looks like a long-term project.
Yep.
Still, with his build and athletic ability, there should be a role for him if he can expand his skill set. And for me, that's the thing that is going to cut it in the draft, is a team that's the only way he falls is if a team that's in the lottery or even just out of the lottery goes, I like him, but I am not marrying myself to Nasir Little. I don't know if I'm going to have 3 years to work with, so I'm going to go with a different guy that I know will be able to be what we think he'll be quicker than Nasir Little. Like, that's the only thing that I think separates him.
Guys
and
give
why
up
I
quickly.
have him low.
Guys give up quickly, man. That's the thing I hate about the NBA is they're so young and they've got so much time they need to develop in. And
it's also a job thing. Like, if I'm a GM or a player personnel guy making these moves, if I'm on shaky ground already, they're not going to draft Nasir Little because it's like, you know what? Like, he's going to need time to develop, and my job might be on the line.
It's very true. I look at a team, a little just after the lottery in like the Spurs, and I'm like, that could be an interesting team for him to grow on. Even if you want to go a little bit higher and think like, if you're at 13 and the Heat fall in love with Nasir Little for some reason, same thing. We love the Heat. We love the Spurs as far as developmental floor players. They both do a great job at it. They have a great track record. But the same way, there's several teams in that just, end of lottery to early 20s where I'm like, I could see him going there, disappearing off radars for a bit, getting his workout on, and being a valuable NBA player in a year or two. Like, 3 years, who knows? And
I think out of the teams that are in the top 20, or I'll say of the teams that are in the top 18, I'll say. I like Miami. Brooklyn, I feel like, could be a good team because I don't think they're going to be a team that, because they've made the playoffs this year, because of what D'Lo has looked like, I don't think if I'm their GM, I'm not scared of being fired because of the success that we've had.
They can take projects. They're great at developing players.
But like every team in the playoffs, like 21 where I have them on that big board, Oklahoma City would be a great spot for them.
I mean, I think I nailed it with my last one.
Yeah, doesn't need to worry about anything. You got Russ and PG there.
Their head coach is getting fired, but,
Is he, though? I mean...
If he loses to the Blazers in a sweep, he should get fired.
I mean, should.
Or not a sweep, because they won one game, didn't
they won game 3. Should, but will he? We'll wait to see. I don't know if they'll move on by
But it's
Billy
an athletic
Donovan.
wing who can't play basketball. That's their jam. They're all about that.
They took the slam dunk champ. Well, was he the slam dunk champion this year? I thought he was.
Hamidou Diallo. And they had Terrence Ferguson the year before, and he's paying dividends. He's a streaky three-point shooter, but he'll get there.
Even Boston, with their abundance of picks, could take him at either 20 or 22.
Yeah, Boston, because, they need more wings. Like, you could treat him like a shitty version of Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, I mean...
He's a slashing wing.
We bashed on Jaylen Brown. Look what happened to him.
We bashed on him because he was raw. He developed his game quicker than we expected. Nasir Little could be the same thing. I think Nasir Little, it wouldn't shock me on draft night if he went 10.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that if a team really thinks that he has got, the makeup and the build that they love, and they're like, I know how we can make him and take him from here to here.
It's funny that you say that because out of the top 10 teams, the one that I could see making that move is Minnesota.
Yeah.
just because they're a team where it's like, screw it, we like them. We're going to take them, even though
We've
a
already
lot
paid,
of people really don't like.
But they've already paid Wiggins so much
Exactly. Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think for his career, it'd benefit him to fall to those playoff teams.
Probably.
The situation I won't like, and I'll say this because the Tankathon has him going there, is Detroit. I don't want him anywhere near Detroit.
It's Stanley Johnson all over again. Except
exactly.
He's worse at defense, but he's a better shooter.
There, and I know that they're having a little bit of stability, but
Come on. Kanad with Blake, Drummond, Reggie Jackson. You fill in that three. You need somebody other than fucking Langston Galloway and I forget the other guy's name.
I don't think they're a team that takes on a project there. I think
Wayne
they're
Ellington.
a team that takes somebody else to like quickly fill that hole.
Ideally.
And not take that project.
Ideally.
The last guy I want to bring up is somebody for me that is shooting up my board.
Yeah.
In the mock draft that we recently did, I had him as high as 11.
Oh.
I want to say to the Lakers. And that's Tyler Herro. What are your thoughts on Tyler Herro at this point as we do this big board? Because I have to reopen mine. I have him, spoiler alert, I'll have him at 12. Dave has him at 19. Sean has him at 20.
Yeah, I want to put him higher. He is an excellent shooter, one of the best shooters we've seen coming out of college in a long time. I know that Patreon segment with John come on.
Did you say the best shooter in the draft? Is that what you said during that segment?
I think he is, yeah.
Okay. I was just trying to remember if you said that during the John segment.
It's either him or Bull, you know? But yeah, I think that he is...
Sure it's not Cam Reddish?
It's definitely not Cam Reddish. He's one of the most... He's one of the best shooters. He's got a great stroke. He's got good wingspan to him. I'm assuming it's going to be average to slightly above average.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll, walk in and have like a 6'11" wingspan. So we'll have to see. Defensively, he has a lot of effort. I think he's still learning to read people because there's just a lot of times where he bites early and gets burned for it. So he's going to be a liability early on. But the fact that he is an excellent shooter means a bench roll shooting guard is his ideal way to come up in the league and kind of build himself up. A lot of people want to take the easy one out of being, he's Luke Kennard, he's, shitty JJ Redick, shit like that. I think he can actually, and I know Sean was picking on me, I think he can actually develop shots for himself. I don't think he's reliant as coming off screens or, having other guys make openings for him. I think he can ball handle a little bit when asked to. So he probably could go higher on mine. There's just a lot of guys where I'm like, I feel like there's some solid upside here. And for an excellent shooter, yes. I mean, he could be lights out, learn to play defense, and be an absolute steal.
Yeah, it's one of those. The thing I like the most about him is you say, like, it's not just the shooter, it's what type of shots he shoots as well.
Yeah.
And when you have that 3-point shot in your arsenal, especially nowadays, like...
And it's not the fluky 3-point shot. Because his free throw percentage is, like 93%?
93.5.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he was only going to the line for 2.5, but he was making them.
That's the point.
That's the thing.
He is consistently making shots, and he was huge for Kentucky down the line. He came up big when it counted,
And I mean, I'm looking at it, it's like, his last college stats were averaged 32 a game, or 32 minutes per game.
Yeah, I was like, what?
14 points per game, shot 33 from the line, 35 from 3, and then 46 from the field. From the free throw line.
Yeah, you're going to have to re-say those because you said 33 from the line. And I'm like, he did not shoot 33 from the line.
So he shot 32 minutes per game.
Yeah.
14 points per game.
Yep.
Shot 93
Yeah, thank
from
you.
the line.
I was going to be like...
93 from the line.
No.
35 from 3. 46. That dyslexia, man, that I don't have.
Yeah.
I just run right through them sometimes.
Obviously.
The brain moves quicker. The mouth moves quicker than the brain. Is that what they say?
Yeah.
But yeah, 93.
I mean, Cam Johnson's a great shooter, and he's at the very bottom of mine and yours. I think he's probably, a lot of people want to give him the credit for being one of the best shooters. And to be honest, he has volume over Tyler Herro. So at the end of the day, I guess Cam Johnson, I have to asterisk myself and say Cam Johnson's probably the best shooter. Tyler Herro, though, is 3 years younger and has 3 or 4 years younger and has room to grow. Yeah, because I feel like Cam Johnson feels like a 5th year to me. I don't know if he actually is, so Ricky will check.
Cam Johnson is 23 years old.
Yeah, Cam Johnson's old.
By the time of the draft, Tyler is going to be about almost 19 and a half.
Yep.
Whereas Cam Johnson by the draft will be 23 and 3/12.
Yeah. 20 and a half, 21 and a half, 22.
Yeah, and a quarter. So 23 and a quarter.
Yeah. So 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm just calling it 4 years. Yeah, it's a big deal. Mm-hmm. It's a big deal. That's my point.
And I mean, also the thing that, the 3-pointers there for Cam Johnson.
Yeah.
As
And it's
more.
great volume.
Yeah. He shot only one more a game than Tyler. I just think, like, to me, the question is, Tyler's range is so big in this draft where I could see him being a guy that goes 10-11.
Yep.
I could also see we get to draft time, people fall in love with his shooting and he gets drafted well into the top 10. I don't know necessarily if it will happen. That's why I have him at 11.
I don't know that a team will love him that much. I think he's got a lot of holes in the game still.
But I could also see teams passing on him to the fact where he goes 18, 19, 20 as well.
A lot of gas over there.
I do. I'm trying to hold
hearing
it
on the
in.
mics, yeah.
Well, it's one of those things while I'm talking, I don't want to let it out while it talks. So it comes out on its own. Like,
it's hilarious, man.
And my mind is basically like, no, come back. I don't want you to come out.
I don't know that he'll go top 10.
Just so you know, I am fighting it.
I don't know that he's a top 10 player, but he very well could, wind up as one of the 10 best players taken in this draft when it's all said and done.
Is he a player that is taken low enough to where 4 years down the line we go, wow, why was he taken so low?
I mean, I don't think he's going to Donovan Mitchell it, but I think he's going to be a very, very good player in the NBA.
Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you think down below in the comment section. Also, let Sean know what you think of his big board because he's not here.
Naz Reid, tell us why he's the GOAT.
I'm actually very proud of myself. I did not bash Sean's big board because that's the thing. We'll see later on when we get to Sean's top 5 how when I saw it, I was like, oh, I wish he was going to be here.
I'm going to pick on Sean and say he's got Gafford on his big board at 19. Neither one of us even included Daniel Gafford on our big boards. And you made it sound like, you jumped right over Gafford. You said it was, who's your boy?
I like Fernandez.
Yeah,
Bruno Fernandez.
The man who doesn't exist.
I like Fernando, though.
You like Fernando over Gafford?
Like, to me, I think Gafford will probably be a second rounder. That's what I just think the center position.
Yep.
The only two for sure that are going to be in the first round are Jackson and Goga.
Okay.
Bruno, if he is towards the end, and it's because of his
Yep.
I'll say this: if Bruno's in the first round, it's because the Celtics targeted him and needed rebounding.
I mean, they do need rebounding. All right, I'll let you.
That's what I'm saying. But like Daniel Gafford, I like him. I want to put him higher. I used to have him higher. I just think that not many centers are going to go. Also, I wanted to look this up and say it before we ended things. You want to know how high I was on Nasir Little at the beginning of the year?
You're 1.0.
He was 5. He was number 5 at the beginning of the year. Now he's all the way at, what did I have him, 21 now? So just the rise and fall of Nasir Little.
Brandon had Naz Reid at 8. Sean must love Brandon.
You look at Brandon's, and like he had guys like Naz Reid was high, Chris Wilkes, who we've gotten comments on of like, how aren't you talking about Chris Wilkes?
Because not that good.
He had him higher up. He had Kenny Wooten, who we've had comments about. The only one
is Brandon leaving comments in the comment section anonymously again.
The only one that I was like,
Jalen
I wish that we didn't have. Was
Quentin Grimes.
Quentin Grimes, because I had Quentin Grimes.
Nobody saw that coming.
I thought I had him higher. Where is he going? Yeah, I had him at 10. I had him in my top 10. And I was like, oh.
Did not see Quentin Grimes.
I thought he was going to be better than he was.
Struggling the way he did.
But this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think down below.